The Curse of the Red-Eyed Stranger, Part 2. The Marquis didn't sleep that night. I don't think I even blinked after making it back to my house. The moment I burst through my front door, I slammed it shut, locked it, and sank to the floor, hard hammering against my ribs. My flashlight was still clutched in my hand, but Mia wasn't with me. I kept telling myself it was just a prank. Mia must have hidden in the woods to scare me. Maybe the pressure of the moment had made me imagine those red eyes. Maybe my brain was trying to make sense of the shadows. But deep down, I knew none of that was true. Mia was gone. The first thing I did the next morning was call her, my fingers trembling as I dialed her number. It rang twice before someone answered, but it wasn't Mia. Hello. An unfamiliar voice rasped. The line was distorted, crackling like an old radio. Mia? I asked hesitantly. The voice laughed a dry, hollow sound that sent chills racing down my spine. You shouldn't have called. It whispered before the line went dead. My stomach churned as I stared at my phone, the screen now showing no signal. I tried again, and again, and again. Each time, it didn't even ring. By noon, I was desperate enough to visit Mia's house. Her mom answered the door, her face creased with worry. Have you seen Mia? She asked before I could speak. She didn't come home last night. A cold weight settled in my chest. No, I lied, the words scraping against my throat. I thought she'd be here. Her mom blinked rapidly, trying to hold back tears. If you hear from her, please tell her to call me. I nodded numbly and backed away from the door, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. The guilt was unbearable, but what could I say? That I'd dragged her into the woods to summon an urban legend? That I'd seen glowing red eyes and now she was missing? No one would believe me. Hell, I barely believed myself. That night, I locked every door and window in the house. I closed the curtains, turned on every light, and sat in the living room with my back to the wall, clutching a kitchen knife. My parents were out of town for the weekend, so it was just me and whatever was coming. It wasn't long before I heard it, a soft hum, low and rhythmic, rising from the stillness outside. My blood turned to ice as I recognized the sound from the night before. It was the same hum that had filled the forest just before the red eyes appeared.
I gripped the knife tighter, my knuckles white. The hum grew louder, vibrating through the walls. And then, slowly, the doorknob began to turn. My breath caught in my throat as the lock clicked. The door creaked open, inch by inch, revealing nothing but darkness beyond. And then, a voice low, distorted, and dripping with malice. You called. The same words I'd heard in the woods, spoken in the same icy tone. I wanted to scream, to run, but my body wouldn't obey. The darkness seemed to crawl into the room, swallowing the light, until all I could see was a pair of glowing red eyes. The figure stepped inside, its movements slow and deliberate. As it approached, I saw its face, or rather, the lack of one. The void where its mouth should have been gaped wider, black tendrils spilling out like smoke. It stopped just a foot away from me, towering over my frozen form. You shouldn't have run, it hissed, its voice slicing through the air like broken glass. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for the end. But instead of pain, I felt heat. Searing, unbearable heat spreading across my skin. I gasped, and the figure's laughter echoed in my ears as it began to fade. When I opened my eyes, the room was empty. The door was closed. The lights were on, but my left hand was burning. I looked down and nearly screamed. Etched into my skin like a brand was a symbol, a jagged circle with a single, unblinking eye in the center. It throbbed with an unnatural heat, pulsing like a second heartbeat. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I went back to the woods. I didn't know what I was looking for, MIA answers, a way to undo the nightmare I'd unleashed. But as I approached the clearing, I realized something was wrong. The well was gone. In its place was a shallow crater, the earth scorched black. The hum was back, faint, but growing louder with every step. And then, just as I reached the edge of the crater, the ground shifted beneath me. I stumbled back, my heart racing as something began to rise from the dirt. It was the figure, taller, darker, and more twisted than before. Its red eyes burned brighter, and its void-like mouth stretched into a grotesque smile. You can't stop it, it said, its voice echoing in my mind. What do you want from me? I shouted, my voice trembling. The figure tilted its head as if considering the question. I want you to see, it said. And soon, you will. Before I could respond, the figure dissolved into a cloud of black smoke, disappearing into the wind. The hum faded with it, leaving me alone in the clearing once more. But as I turned to leave, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Etched into the bark of a nearby tree in jagged, bleeding letters was a single word, MIA.